With the House coming back today, the Senate coming back tomorrow, they've got deadlines to move bills out of both chambers to the other chamber. It is how our legislative process works, and on the ground reporting, the Center Square is there. I'm Greg Bishop, Associate Editor for the Center Square. It is Illinois in Focus daily, each and every weekday morning here. Appreciate you guys being here, and don't forget, if you can't watch the live show, you can check out the segments afterwards, but you can also get the podcast uninterrupted. Just search for Illinois in Focus. Let's talk with State Representative Shawn Ford. He joins us now live to give us an idea of what to expect at the State House. Representative, thanks for taking time with us this morning. A lot of stuff's going to be happening here, so break it down for us. What can we expect?
Well, Greg, I got a new name for you. Okay. Greg Watchdog Bishop.
There you go. Right on. But that's what we try to do. We try to keep an eye on what's going on so people know. Because listen, I mean, you know very well your constituents. They've got jobs. They've got to go and make sure they're getting food on their families' tables, and they can't watch this stuff like you and I can. We get paid to do this. You get paid to legislate. I get paid to watch what you guys do and ask questions and report out. So it's important that people know what's going on.
Yes. So this is the week. I mean, this is the week that we have all been waiting for. Legislators and advocates, lobbyists have all got us to the point where we're at third reading deadline in the House to send bills over to the Senate. Let me just thank all of the advocates and the lobbyists for helping get a lot of agreements on bills that are important to the people of Illinois. It's been a lot of work. And not to mention our staff over in LRB that have really, really worked so hard to draft amendments and bills. The taxpayers should be somewhat, but not always satisfied with how their dollars are being spent in Springfield, because there's a lot of work going on.
Well, Representative, before we talk about some of the specifics that your focus is on, and you've talked about maintaining higher ed funding and a variety of other things, but let's talk about the Homeschool Act. This was a pretty controversial piece of legislation, made it out of the committee. It's on second reading, might be an amendment to it, but it didn't make it out of committee. Is that something you foresee happening before the end of the week this week?
Well, we're down here to make Illinois laws better and protect the public safety of residents and citizens. So it's my hope that the bill that the representative has is something that could improve homeschooling for students and families. I subscribe to nothing for us without us. The homeschool advocates and families have said that this bill did not include their agreement. And so I'm concerned about that. And I'm concerned about the section of the bill that provides a criminal act for parents that may run afoul of the law. As a Black legislator and a member of the General Assembly, I've seen how the criminal justice system has two faces, one for Black and one for non-Black. And so anytime we engage law enforcement when we don't need to, I think it's dangerous. And we don't want to give law enforcement an opportunity to engage with families that's just trying to teach their children the way they feel their philosophy leads them to.
Representative Shawn Ford joins us here. He's from Chicago, coming down to Springfield today. The Homeschool Act, you had a rally up in Chicago, downtown at Daily Plaza last week. You took part in that. What are you hearing from your constituents here about, who may have decided even recently, saying, the public schools aren't cutting it for my family. I need to send my kid to either a school of my choice, or better yet, I'll homeschool. Are you hearing that a lot, that there's some recent homeschool converts?
Absolutely. I mean, I would not have known about this bill if I didn't get calls to my office in opposition from my constituents. The bill, I did not know it was filed. And when I started getting calls to my office from constituents, that's when I became aware. And they began to tell me why I should oppose the bill. You know, since 2020, the homeschool for Black families in has grown from 3.3% to almost 17%. This is something that's working. And if we fear that homeschooling has some challenges, it should be our goal to bring them to the table like we do all other groups to shape a bill to improve the outcomes of homeschooling.
When it comes to the process of passing bills like this, we've seen this in the past as well, Representative. A lot of opposition. People file witness slips. I think back to the ban on semi-automatic firearms. Right? I mean, it was a large amount of opposition, dwarfing the amount of proponents. It seems to be the same thing here with the witness slips filing. People are concerned about that. They feel that if they try to, interact with their government in that capacity, a witness slip, it doesn't really make any difference.
I think that I disagree. I think that members see the opposition, they see the number of people that stand opposed, and it does make a difference. So I encourage people to continue to engage in that way. And, when I listen to some of the constituents, I know that I hear them tell me, Representative Ford, Black people could actually have a life-threatening or even lose their lives over traffic stops. Black people have lost their kids to the system of DCFS for reasons that could be suspect. And so I'm hoping that the sponsor of the bill will allow me to use my ability to work with the community and be able to work with her to try to get some type of agreement. I think she has great intentions, but I think that what makes Illinois and what makes democracy great is the fact that you get input from everyone. Nothing for us without us. There's nothing wrong with improving the Homeschool Act in Illinois. I think that's what we come down to do. We come down to make Illinois better and to make good laws better laws. And this is what the intent of this bill does, but it doesn't mean that it's soup yet. And I hope that I could work with the sponsor to help her get to the point where I could vote for it.
Well, and Representative, speaking of it's not soup yet, another thing I hear regularly from listeners and readers, and even running into people at the Illinois State House wanting to talk to their legislators, shell bills. When I explained shell bills a couple of weeks ago on a segment, I had multiple people reach out, and even somebody at the Capitol physically from the Chicagoland area that said it was just very enlightening. People don't necessarily understand shell bills. They see that as a workaround from informing the public properly through 3 readings of a piece of policy. What's your reaction to the pushback on shell bills?
I respect a person's view on pushing back on shell bills, but I think that there will come a time where those that push back will see that sometimes the clock runs out, and sometimes you can't get agreements on bills in time. And so a shell bill is a bill that is available, a vehicle that will allow for good public policy to pass one house and over to the next. At that point, once it passes one chamber, it will get a vetting in the other chamber. It's not as if once it passes as a shell bill in one chamber that it becomes a passed bill onto the governor's desk. They're still vetting through the process. And many times shell bills still have hearings in the chamber. And there's also floor debates. And so it's not as if the language is being sneaked onto something that has never been heard of. It's a way to deal with the clock that runs out on everyone.
Representative Shawn Ford with finally here. It's bill deadline week in the House and the Senate. What are some things that you're personally looking forward to getting across at least the House finish line? Well,
there has been thousands and thousands of people dying of fentanyl overdose on the west side of Chicago, especially in my district. And we know that there is one harm reduction tool that guarantees that no one dies of a fentanyl overdose, and that is an overdose prevention site. We've worked on this for years. I think since 2015, when I went to Vancouver to visit an overdose prevention site and saw how lives were saved in the overdose prevention site. Then I went to New York, where there is an overdose prevention site right across from a daycare center. And the daycare center was opposed to the overdose prevention site, but once it got there, they realized that they needed it because it kept the streets clean and it kept the streets free of litter. And it made sure that people were inside the building getting help. And we also saw police bringing people, diverting people to the overdose prevention site and not to the police station where taxpayers would have to pay for them to be incarcerated. And so if we could pass House Bill 2929 over to the Senate for more debate, I would be so grateful. It's a bill that was written by the Department of Human Services. It will have no revenue funds coming from the general revenue bucket. This will be funded by the settlement fund, the heroin settlement fund that was paid to states that were impacted by the fentanyl and the heroin crisis. And so this bill, if passes and becomes law, will be a consequential bill that will save lives and taxpayer millions and millions of dollars. It will keep communities clean, and it will help lead people to recovery. And families will definitely find that their loved ones will be better off as a result of the overdose prevention site. And once again, it's only in my area on the west side. And we've had the opportunity to work with Republicans, and Republicans are supporting this. This year, the advocates have worked so hard to educate the members of the General Assembly, and we've made major gains. And I want to thank the advocates for that.
State Representative Shawn Ford, greatly appreciate you taking the time here live with us this morning. I know you got to hit the road here soon to get down here into Springfield, so I'll let you go this morning, and we'll see you down here in just a short amount of time, all right?
Thank you, Greg Watchdog Bishop.
All right, I appreciate that. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join us each and every weekday morning as we give you an idea of what's going on at the Illinois State House. I gotta apologize for the live stream. Not sure why all of a sudden we're getting these hiccups, but it is what it is. That's why you gotta have redundancies. I've got the podcast recording, which you can pick up later this morning. It'll be uninterrupted. But then we also have the segments recording locally, which again, you can pick up later on this morning. So if you missed some of what Representative Shawn Ford had to say, then you can catch the segment or the podcasts. Apologize about the dropped frames, and it's not just a few frames. It's dropping out seconds at a time. That's never fun. All right. Just wanted to interject that here briefly before we get to that next segment.